Hey, 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 what do you say? It is the Swypit Show right here on the Success Network, of course. I'm Kevin Hodis, your host, and I'm the president and CEO of Swypit, that crazy credit card processing company all over the country. Every state in the union, I believe we are. I could probably check on that. Do we have a fact checker? Maybe we should check on that. I'm pretty sure we're everywhere. We actually, wait a minute, hold on. We're not in Alaska. I know we're not in Alaska. So, and we're not in Puerto Rico. We're not in the Virgin Islands. So we're good there. But maybe we need to be in the Virgin Islands so I can go for vacation there. But of course, if you are watching and you are enjoying the show, you need to like it. There's a little button down there somewhere that you should like it. You can share this for other people to be seeing as well. But we will be doing some other things after this that we'll put out. So little snippets of it. You can do recaps with those. But of course, this is the Swypit Show. And we're right here in beautiful Frisco, Texas, where it's getting ready to, I think it's going to be a little rainy, maybe some hail today. So the car's in the garage. But of course, we've got a really, really special guest on the show. Super, super excited because you may know him through some of the books that he's written. His best-selling book is called Never Split the Difference. Of course, Mr. Chris Voss is, of course, a best-selling author. What a great book right here. And of course, I am very honored to be the executive producer of his life story, and Brandon, his son, for Tactical Empathy. Look at this. I made these little mini movie posters. Isn't that cool? I love this little poster here. And of course, Chris has been gracious enough to want to come on the Swypit Show. And we're going to bring Chris on here in 3, 2, 1. Ryan, there we go. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Fantastic, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for executive producing the documentary film. Much appreciated. Thank you.
No, listen, pleasure is all mine. What's wonderful about being in these things that I do with Abundance Films and the DNA Group, these guys are doing things that help people. And, when you're helping people, I love to be around people like that. We've had extensive conversations about helping people, and sometimes you don't make money off it. It's not about the money. It's about just helping and getting the message out to help other people be successful in whatever they're doing. And
Amen.
that's where, you come into play. You're definitely one of those guys that is helping people, right?
Yeah, making the world a better place, brother, and make it better for everybody.
We're trying to make the world a better place, one crazy person at a time, right?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
That's right.
I want to make everybody aware. I'm doing something a little unorthodox. Typically, we would do this
A
at the
little
end, but of course,
like that. You're unorthodox in everything you do, man. How is anything a little unorthodox?
well, I do these little unorthodox things, right? Like we have these little tactical empathy black Swan pens, and
Yeah.
I love drinking my coffee, out of my
Yeah.
black Swan cup. Hey, listen, you got to promote your friends,
I
right?
don't even have one of those. I mean, I gotta get one of those.
What? I mean, even if you were drinking water out of it, come on, Chris.
I know, yeah, scotch or anything.
I know a guy.
You know a guy,
I know a guy.
Okay.
I want to bring up and say, first and foremost, if you've never read the book, we're going to talk about some things in here a little bit, and maybe something in the movie. But I want people to go out and buy this book. I really, this is one of the best books that I have ever read. And it has techniques that you can use in your everyday life. You're never going to do everything in the book. Listen, when a publisher publishes a cookbook, nobody does every recipe. They do one or two things in that book, and then they go back to it. They may try something and fail at it, but they always go back to what they know. So I'm suggesting, highly recommending this book. I'm disappointed that Chris didn't have me do the forward in it, but we'll wait for the next one. But obviously, I want you to check it out. Now, the other thing you may not know about is there's an organization called the Black Swan Group, where Chris's son, Brandon, is the president of that organization, and he is an amazing individual that everybody needs to meet. So we're going to talk about some stuff, but I really want people to know who you are if they don't know, and they can use this as a reference. The website is Black Swan, L as in Larry, T as in Tom, D as in David.com. And you can go to that while we're talking and listening. But I wanted to do that on the front side because a lot of times, even as world renowned that Chris is, he isn't as recognizable because you may have never seen him. You've only seen the book. So anyways, I wanted to get that out, check it out, enjoy it. And then one day we'll be out. We're doing private screenings of this right now, which we'll talk about soon as well. But hey, listen, Chris, let me thank you so much for being on the Swypit Show. I really enjoyed a lot of time you were here for my military appreciation night, which was awesome. I know Brandon couldn't make it. He'll be here next year, and maybe you will be too. So either way, I love helping people. And as I'm reading through the book and all this stuff, but I've got to ask you, you grew up in Iowa and you were a police officer. Tell me how you transitioned from being and what created being a police officer transitioning to the FBI.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was incredible learning, creating, starting over. Most FBI agents are second career professionals. I was a cop in Kansas City, Missouri, very happy there. And simultaneously, my father encouraged me to go to federal law enforcement. I met a Secret Service agent who said he traveled all over the world with the service. And I'm like, wow, now that sounds like a cool job. I was in an assignment at Kansas City Police Department. I was getting a little bored with it at the time. And so I put in for the FBI and I got hired and sent to Quantico, and my world expanded. For me, it was a great move. I mean, it just had the amount of opportunity to do good, to completely use a cliche, as an FBI agent is really there. You got to want to be in the big game. I ended up in the big game on a daily basis in New York and working with great people that wanted to make a difference. I really enjoyed my time there. To me, it was a growth. It's about growth.
Growth is important in everybody's life. And if you're not growing, you're probably going backwards. And to
Yeah.
go further in life, you need to go forward. So, definitely growing is important. And you've identified that you needed to move forward and you did that. Little question for you. Have you ever heard of a town called Kearney, Missouri? Do you
It rings a
remember?
distant bell, but a really distant bell.
Kearney, Missouri is the birthplace of Jesse James.
Oh,
And it is a little tiny town that I went to elementary school for a few years because my mother still lives in Missouri, in outside of Kansas City. And I have a half brother
ah.
who he is in Kansas City working for a different company. But, every time I hear you say Kansas City, I keep forgetting to mention to you that my mom lives out there. And my stepdad was somebody that worked at TWA, the 12 wobbly airplanes there, that KCI.
Yeah, they had a big operation in Kansas City for a while.
Yeah, and then they got gobbled up by American. But, when you were obviously looking to grow yourself, you were transitioning from being a police officer, how did you actually get to hostage negotiation? Because I know that was talked about in
Yeah.
Tactical Empathy, which we haven't put out yet. But how did you do that transition? How did that come about? Tell me that story.
Yeah, well, one of the bridges from the police department to the FBI was I was on a list to join the SWAT team with the police department. So I never actually got to the SWAT team, but I was on the list to go. You apply, you try, you get interviewed, they rank you, you get on a list. I was on a list.
Wow.
And so then with the Bureau, I joined the SWAT team. I got on the SWAT team. My first office was FBI Pittsburgh. And I got on the Pittsburgh SWAT team, went on a couple of operations, got transferred to New York. and decided I was going to attempt to try out for the FBI's hostage rescue team, which is the FBI's version of the Navy SEALs. That these guys, all they do is train and practice for tactical events. And I re-injured a knee, and had an ongoing problem with my right knee, which I still deal with today. It helps keep doctors in fast cars, big houses, a long-term injury, and knew that I wanted to stay in crisis response. I like it when people have to make decisions. Procrastination is sort of the bane of my existence. The risks and costs of comfortable inaction, as Kennedy said, far outweigh the costs of making mistakes. And that's a clear paraphrase.
Wow.
But, the hostage negotiators went out with the SWAT guys. I didn't really know what they did, but, didn't look hard. How hard could it be? I talk to people every day. And it's far more complex than that. But when I got into it and I got trained, I loved it. It was more satisfying than being on SWAT ever was. And I love SWAT. So I think I was wired to become a negotiator, and fate took me in that direction.
That's awesome. When you say the word SWAT, it makes me think of the TV show. Remember that TV show, SWAT?
Yeah.
How realistic really was that, right? Or was it just made for TV?
Yeah, a little overblown. I mean, they get out there and they do the stuff. They don't do it as often. There's a lot of artistic license on the television show.
Yeah, of course, right? It's gotta have drama, it's gotta have some, ways to keep you engaged and things of that nature. The one thing that really is amazing with you, Chris, is you're a fascinating man, and you fascinate
Thank you.
me in a very unique way, which makes me think, like when I was reading the book, of things that I've done in the past in my career. So I don't know if that's the correct way I'm supposed to be looking and thinking of things when I'm reading the book, but you have created the fascination of how did I accomplish that? And what I think is fascinating about you is that in the book, you teach people these different techniques, and those different techniques that you're teaching them, they are trying to negotiate or figure out ways to make things in their advantage, obviously, because we don't want to split the difference, right? We
Never.
never want to split the difference. And the fascinating part is it made me think of when I was uh, working for this company that I would show up, and you talk about this further into the book about the leverage part of it. I would show up at a business owner and I would show them how to confidentially find a buyer for their business. I would spend 4 hours, 4 hours. I would do a business evaluation. I would tell them how much their business was worth, and I would collect anywhere from $7 to $10,000 from them. I would then take a piece of paper, have them sign it, and then I would take that piece of paper to their bank and have them create it as a cashier's note. So the complex, and I made great money from that, and I would do it 3, 4, 5 times a week, and it was crazy. I was doing it around 5 states. So while I was reading the book, I was thinking about, I'm already doing a lot of these mirroring, labeling, accusations, whatever I was using, and you kind of put it in the book, and I'm like, "Does this man know my mind? How did he do that?" Right? So I wanna talk about how people that are in business, they need to utilize certain techniques. And they obviously don't have 4 hours like I did. I wasn't traveling so far away, but you use labeling. Explain labeling of how it could be utilized in a business setting.
Yeah, and I love what you're talking about, because what we're talking about is applied emotional intelligence. And as a successful business person and somebody who loves to learn, like, you're a naturally curious dude. Curiosity is a superpower. I mean, that starts to ramp up your learning, and then also get you better at emotional intelligence. And this is applied emotional intelligence. Like all education is a result of experience. What's a mechanism that we can identify to shorten everybody's learning curve? So one of those that you just talked about is labels. Labels just a verbal observation. Hanging a label on an emotion or a dynamic or an instinct, a feeling that you have in a moment. Now, how do you hang a label on it? You say, seems like something's holding you back. Like if you ask somebody a question, you make the mistake of going for yes, and they go, yes. Now, people that aren't really listening or applying their emotional intelligence, they're going to be like, woohoo, I just got a yes. But if your emotional intelligence is high, you sense that something's holding them back. And it's really important for you to have a long-term relationship. And you got to show them that they can trust you. So instead of leaping all over that yes, you say something like, it seems like something's holding you back. And the trust is built through the roof. Like they trust you. And then consequently, saying it like that, you found through trial and error, and so did we. That's how we came upon this, through hostage negotiation, crisis intervention. People are more likely to give you the unvarnished truth. Instead of thinking about an answer and constructing an answer, you want the real answer with all of its warts and ugliness and good and bad. You want the real answer, because that's how you create a great relationship and move forward together, and people trust you.
Trust is the way to a person's pocketbook or pocket, right? And
Yeah.
no one's deceptive in their tactics. They're just utilizing psychological tools that you can teach them to get the things that they don't realize they need. And I find that business owners, they always want to know ways to do things. They just don't know how a fresh perspective can help them get what they want. And that's where, like in the book, they need people that come in and use psychological tactics to help them grow their business. And I know that with me, I do a lot of mirroring, and I love the fact that when it reinforces something in their brain. And I don't remember where I saw it. You said oh gosh, what was it? Something in our brain starts with an M. Melanin. Oh, what was that word?
Well, there's mirror neurons,
There we
and
go. Yes, yes. And you mentioned that. Can you talk about what that is from negotiation style? What does that really mean to somebody that doesn't know what that is?
all right. And so then I'm happy to talk about mirror neurons from a layman's perspective. The neuroscientists are going to say, there's no such thing as mirror neurons. What there is an emotional resonance circuitry that we haven't identified. Like, I don't care what you call it. But what it is in your affect, being the lead, because the other person they're gonna calm is contagious. So the mirror neurons pick up calm, and it helps make people calm.
Yeah.
Enthusiasm is contagious. Smile is contagious. A smile in your voice is contagious. It's hitting these circuits in the other person's brain, and it tends to lead them in that direction. And that's a real distinction that I would make from many approaches out there, very much. And I'll cite one guy. I've read his book, The Way of the Wolf, Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street. Extremely
Love that.
successful guy. I've been interviewed by him. And Jordan talks about, he learned that, like, if somebody's upset and angry, you match them, and then they see that you're like them, and then you start to calm down and you can bring them down. And I 100% agree with everything but the first step. Like, if they're angry, you can let calm is contagious. I think his real effectiveness is a second step forward, and you don't need to match. As a matter of fact, I think it's a bad idea to match somebody's anger. But everything else that he would lay out there, because of the mirror neurons, is one of the reasons why the guy was so effective. He had a natural gut instinct. He got taught certain things, and I would employ many of the same mechanisms for productive, positive outcomes. So yeah, mirror neurons. Calm is contagious. Enthusiasm is contagious. Anger is contagious, and that's why we don't recommend people become the second mover and is angry when somebody else is angry. Just go ahead and be calm, or go ahead and be reassuring. and it'll have the impact you want because of the thing we're discussing right now, the mirror neurons.
Absolutely. And I literally just, I got back on Saturday. We were filming up in Nashville and I had to see a client, I had a meeting. I went there and one of their staff members was so angry about this one aspect. And I had to literally bring, I'm typically in a meeting and I'm usually pretty calm. I'm always assertive and making sure that I'm being respectful. But I literally had to, the owner was standing to the right and this person over here was just so angry about stuff and they were kind of angry more at the owner. So I was able to help diffuse the situation a little bit. And I go, listen, don't pay attention to that. You just need to do this and then understand this, and that will solve that issue. Because they just kept going on and on and on because it was an analytical owner who was more of an engineer type that, they can be very analytical. And that
Right.
person just didn't understand. So I had to kind of step in and then I had to, and I'm replaying it in my brain. And then what we need to do now is just do this, this, and this. And I laid it out and she goes, well, that makes sense. So it was a really perfect situation where you have to be very careful. And I believe that you also have to know who you're talking to, know when to step into certain situations and know when to step away from them, because that's a little knack in itself. And I think that um, you do that in when you were doing hostage negotiation, because what you say can actually hurt people, right? Depending on certain situations, somebody can lose their life. And what you're trying to do is get them to understand that, in certain, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like I said, listen, my mom is calling.
Awesome. You
I
can't take that. Take mom.
let's see what happens. I didn't make this up. Ready? Watch this. Hold on. Let's see what she says.
Hello.
Hey, Mom. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm in the middle of doing my podcast show, Mom.
Well, that's okay. I just want to say hi, see how everyone is.
Yes,
That's it.
I'm talking to a former Kansas City police officer.
Okay, I'll let you go.
All right, Mom. I love you. Talk to you later.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye now. I,
I love your
Brian,
mom's voice. Your mom is what a sweetheart of a human being. That was really cool.
I'm going to tell you that I've said to Ryan, my mom's going to call one time during a show and I'm just going to answer it. So
Got to answer.
yeah, I think it's funny. She's getting up in age and her 80th birthday's coming up at the end of the month and I'm going to go and visit her.
Nice.
And she's just there in the middle of nowhere in Kansas City, right? You've been there, you've lived there, but
Yeah.
I want to go back to what I was going into. And what I was kind of leading towards was there's a knack to doing specific things, right? And you have to be able to know when to get in or get out or make adjustments, and they're critical. Otherwise, you could look really kind of foolish, right? So I know that, like, Brandon, your son, he is you once said something that was intriguing to me. And you said, I don't remember where you said it, where we were, but you said that Brandon actually absorbed information from you and it hit home with me. I don't remember where or when, or maybe you say it often, but I was obviously there. And I'm going to tell you why it's so important, because as the lighting went off here in the office, of course, that's always fun when it doesn't. I'm a small guy behind this big, huge thing going here.
I thought maybe
But
the SWAT team was coming in. There's
yes,
not a
they
warrant
were
out
coming
for you,
in.
huh?
Well, I got to run to the shredder first, okay?
Okay.
The shredder's where you go when you've got a problem, right?
Yeah,
First thing you do is just shred everything. So with Brandon, he grew up around you and he osmosisly, he picked up all this stuff from you. And that's why he is such an awesome dude. He literally has created his future from you being this guy that has all this knowledge he absorbed and he applies it. And I've had that same situation with my father being a corrections officer.
Mm-hmm.
And you did SWAT. My father was part of the Orange Crush, as they call them, or the CERT team, the Correctional Emergency Response Team. So he would go in and he had to do some little bit of hostage negotiations. He had to do a little bit of, trying to diffuse situations. And I kind of learned that. And I think it made me kind of the person I am. But, when it made Brandon the person he is, right, it gave you the ability to feel really confident in his abilities with the Swan Group. Tell me a little bit more how the Swan Group helps people these days, because
Black
he's
Swan.
I'm sorry.
Black Swan, not the Swan.
The
Black Swan.
yeah, I'm sorry. The Black Swan Group. Yeah, I mean, come on. I drink. The problem is, I don't read it. I can't see it.
It's an advertisement. It's not a reminder.
Yeah. So the Black Swan Group. Tell me how that came about, and how Brandon's doing an amazing job. But I'll let you take the floor on that one.
Well,
Because
yeah,
people need to know.
you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go as a team. I mean, Brandon was the original member of my team coming out, and his immersion in the skills was such that, like, he knows his stuff. I mean, he's I got asked the other day who's the best negotiator I know, and I said Brandon Voss. And I was thinking about that afterwards. Like, number one, that's true. Number two, how does that happen? Well, through our growth phases, when our neuroplasticity and our learning is at its highest, he got exposed to stuff. Like, he was figuring it out. I had no idea how he was absorbing it. And of course, they talk about prodigies. They just got interested before anybody else noticed. They got their 10,000 hours in by the time they were 8 years old. I mean, he got his hours in like really early, also through periods of time in any human being's life when their brain absorbs the most. They're the most present. They have the most neuroplasticity. They're borderline flow all the time. Stephen Kotler would tell you that adolescents are all in borderline flow, which is where your learning is at the highest. So he understands this so well that when it came time to start to build the company, and I was in it by myself for a very short period of time, but he was always there helping. He was always a sounding board at all times. And then we had a contract back in 2009, which turned into be just a bit of a train wreck. And I needed somebody's help that I could trust. And he was always there and always building the ideas and refining them. And I brought him into the company, and we navigated some rough waters that I never would have gotten through without. Like, you would have no idea who I am if Brandon Voss had not been my partner.
No, I can really see that. He literally, I think he stayed with, didn't he stay with Roz? Tal Roz?
Oh, yeah. Well, Tal came and stayed with him.
Gotcha.
Tal came down from New York, Tal Roz, our co-author, and stayed at Brandon's house. And then we went through interviews and talked and talked and talked. Brandon was there every moment. I wasn't even there every moment. Like, one night I had to go to a meeting, and Tal went to the meeting with us, and Brandon and Tal sat at the bar and talked while I was in the meeting. So yeah, Tal came down and got immersed, got exposed more to Brandon than he got exposed to me in terms of hours then.
And he immersed all that information. He was able to help with creating the book itself. So that's, it's totally awesome. It gives the ability for people to really have a deeper understanding from even a third person, but that third person is family anyways. And
yeah, and I gotta throw a side shout out for Tal Roz. Tal Roz is a genius. Like, and in working with other writers, the other book behind me, The Full Fee Agent for Residential Real Estate Agents. Like, I came to understand just how good Tal Roz was. I mean, like, I thought we were getting a writer, and we got a writer and a researcher and a thinker, and just this brilliant mind, and a brilliant writer. So yeah, Tal was great. Tal, the book is one of a kind because of him.
The books are fantastic. I think you have 3 books, right? You've done 3 books?
Well, there was a minor book a number of years back that's attributed to me. principally, and we've got a couple of books in the works, but
We do.
so far it's the two.
I'm excited for the one of the next books because I'm a co-author of that book as well. So I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be cool. It's a lot of good projects coming down the pike.
Lot of good stuff.
Everything involved with you is fun. That's what I love
Well,
about it. It's always fun.
I mean, life is about being in the moment, but you got to have fun. Why not? Why not? Life should be exciting and impactful and resourceful, right? You could spend your life just, sitting behind a desk all day and never have any fun, but you got to get out and see some, and maybe smile a little bit, right? We were talking about smiling before. I try to give a smile to the people at the checkout counter. Smiling is the most contagious thing on the planet. You don't even have to say anything. It's just a body function of just smiling, and it is amazing. We used to tell people in our boiler room when I was doing that crazy stuff, smiling is dialing. And you would be smiling all the way through phone calls, and people can feel the energy.
Yep.
And it was very helpful.
Yeah.
And when you take principles in a book, I want to go back to this book for a moment. There are, people, like I was talking about cookbooks, and nobody's going to make every recipe. And in the book, there's many different things that you talk about, and there's principles that you can attempt to do and see how they work. Obviously, no one's going to learn every technique, but they need to find and hone specific techniques that are going to work for them. Tell me about the mirroring process. Did we touch on the mirroring?
Yeah, you talked about the mirroring, but we never really helped people to define it.
Yeah.
And the mirror is just repeating the first or last 1 to 3-ish words that
Oh,
somebody's just said. Makes people feel heard.
I was thinking of my mom that just called, but I want to talk about, this is one of my favorite things, is beware of yes, master no.
Yeah.
Because I know that if you can get people to say no before they say no, it's done. The no is out of the way. Tell me more about yes and no and how it helped you in your career.
And the reason for that is that when people say no, they feel safe and protected. Both of these words, like any aspect of the communication, there's a difference between hearing it and saying it. Like, we hate hearing no normally until we understand what a mechanism it is for acceleration. But people love saying it. I've heard people talk about, the other side, we can't get an agreement. They're in no mode. They say no to everything. And my response is, change your questions. And they're like, nah, it can't be it. Yeah, it is it. Because when people say yes, they wonder where the commitment is. We love to hear yes, but what does it happen when you say yes? There hasn't been a single group that I've spoken to out there, anywhere, when I've said, when a voice on the other end of the phone says, have you got a few minutes to talk? What's your gut reaction? Because they're trying to get a yes out of you. And like universally, the whole group they'll either say no, or they'll go silent because they know there's a fear there. Somebody's trying to get me to say yes. Where's this going? What's this let me in for? Like I've never had, and I probably asked this question of 10,000 people, no joke, literally. And I've never had anybody jump up and go, yes, I love saying yes. Makes me happy to say yes.
Yeah.
That just never happens. So the difference is, what is it to say it and what is it to hear it? And I would offer that it's not that you get no out of the way when you get a no before you get a no, a rejection. It's that you're making them feel safe and comfortable and protected. People feel protected when they say no. Having felt protected, they're less worried about the trap. So now they're listening. Like when Brandon was 17, the parent of every teenager can relate. You hear the words, Dad, can I? And you say, no, before they even finish the sentence. And I look back at that and I realized that every time I said no, then I would hesitate for a moment. And then I go, all right, so what was it that you wanted? Because I felt safe and protected by having said no. And that's really the understanding of the emotional dynamic. So make people feel safe and protected. It accelerates the deal.
Exactly. Making people safe and protected is really the same thing as liking and trusting, right? So
Mhm.
we try to in the world of sales, we want people to like and trust us because they'll even pay more if they like and trust. Not to say people should pay more for anything. It's just that it's easier to make sales if people like and trust you. And typically, like in a sales environment, and this is where negotiation comes into play. Let's just use a car salesman, for example. Car salesmen are the biggest reason salespeople at a car dealership don't make sales is because they never ask for the sale. They just ramble on. They keep going. They keep going. They're waiting for somebody to say, "Yes, I'm ready to buy." They've got to do some things to psychologically get them to say, "Yes, I'm ready to move forward." And they have to master certain techniques before they do that. And I've found that I I use this all the time. Like, I'm going to ask you this. I go to Best Buy, and I don't know if you know this or not, and they're not going to like that I say this, but when you're at Best Buy, you can literally negotiate anything that's in that store. You can say, "Hey, listen, is there a better deal maybe on this product? Oh, let me see." Because you don't get if you don't ask, right?
Right.
Ho So my question to you is going back to more of a personal level. If you were literally at a car dealer, if you're negotiating for cars, you're negotiating for, big screen TV, maybe obviously we know you've done, airline stuff and getting better deals there, but what is it you love to negotiate more than anything? What's that one thing that you yourself know is like, and it's not to get over anybody, it's just part of the art of the sale, right?
Yeah. Wow. So, like, I mean, I enjoy interactions with people so much that to talk about anything that I enjoy more than anything else would be really tough because, like, when you get into this, um, it becomes a language, sort of a secret language that you speak that makes you happier and also makes the people that you interact with happy.
Yeah,
So, like, I'm in some restaurant the other night. I know I'm going to be a pain in the neck for the waiter. I don't want that to be a bad experience for him.
right.
So he's like, waiter gets me a scotch, and it's an exact pour, which means there ain't that much in there. They measure out exactly a shot. And so next one I order, I mean, I want more, but it ain't the waiter's fault. But it's the waiter's job to be my emissary. So how do I get the waiter to be my emissary when a bartender doesn't care on the impact of the waiter's tip because he's giving me a light pour?
Very true.
So I'm going to negotiate a better pour, and I'm going to say, and how's the waiter going to react? He's going to think I'm a pain in the neck. So I go like, I look at the dude and I go like, look, I, I'm going to be the worst customer you ever met. I mean, I'm getting ready to be a pain in the neck. I'm going to be horrible. And he's kind of bracing himself, and it's like, okay, what is it? And I go, and the next scotch, ask the bartender to pour it like he actually likes me. And so then I throw some humor in there. The guy laughs and he's happy, and he thinks this guy's going to be fun to interact with. And I don't know what he said to the bartender, but the next scotch he comes out with is like it's a New York pour. It makes me very happy. And so I like that interaction because of all the people this guy's running around handling tables, he sees most of the rest of the people as demanding or annoying or hard to please. And I am all of those things, and he's having a great time talking with me. This is a
Yep,
table that he enjoyed talking to the whole time.
yep.
So even if I don't get a better pour, I want the waiter paying attention to me. I don't want it to be a painful interaction for him or her. And so I love all of this. I mean, I like doing it all.
Yeah. No, it's really a good answer. I kinda put you on the spot there for different things, but that's a good example because what the actual waiter doesn't realize is his job moving forward is gonna be better because you pointed something out to him that he wasn't really thinking about maybe as often as he should. And now he will make sure for the next customer. So you just did that restaurant and that guy a service. Kudos to you.
I like it. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not that we want to be a pain in the ass when we're talking to people. We want them to realize that sometimes, there's a little mistake here. We'll just, don't worry about it. And then you get everybody happy and everybody's cordial and it works out. I want to ask you something here to explain that I wrote down, and I'm going to read it word for word. And I want you to explain he who, excuse me, he who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation. Can you explain that for people that are watching and listening?
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do, to disagree without being disagreeable. And it's not this nonsense. Let's agree to disagree. Like no. But you got a comparison point of view. And so if someone's disagreeing with you, they're probably triggering you. And if you disagree with somebody else, you're going to trigger them, mostly in the way that we present it. And even the most innocuous and worst common ways is say somebody, well, why do you want that? Or why do you see it that way? Or to ask why. Like, why is a buried accusation? And I love the fact that there's competitors out there teaching communication and say, get to the why, find out somebody's why. Because why is a trigger word, man. And the Black Swan group is always going to have the competitive edge if you just stop asking people their whys. Now, you do need to know their motivations, but there are ways to get it out of them without triggering them. And, you might disagree and you're trying to be nice and you just go like, why do you want that? That's a precursor to you somebody telling you that you're wrong. Somebody asks you why you want something, why you did something. Doesn't matter what kind of tone of voice they use. We have learned that this is a precursor to somebody disagreeing with us, and we're triggered or accusing us or judging us. So how do you get out of that? What are the subtle little ways of getting out of that? The first one on the why question, instead of saying, why did you do that? Or why do you want that? Or why is that position? Change your why to a what. Like, what causes that to be your position? Takes the sting of accusation out of it. Takes you in a step of disagreeing without being disagreeable.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how when you realize what it really means, how it's going to help you move forward in your own life, because people just don't pay attention to the details. And this detail will obviously make their life a little simpler. And it's the book is fascinating. It is one of those books that you could probably read 2 and 3 times and still pick up something that you missed the first time you read it. And that's why it's been on the bestseller list for what, 5 years now?
It hit number 1 in business negotiation shortly after we published it in 2016, and it is still
It
there.
is amazing. It's and you may think that you yourself, like I don't feel I'm a very special person. And I'm sure that maybe you don't feel that you're a special person. But
I see myself as a very average dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. And what is interesting is that we are we take what we do or what you do, and it's natural. And we have just like if you talk to Serena or Venus, these unbelievable tennis players, they don't think they're special. They just think they have honed their craft. And people want to be around people that have honed their craft, and it just becomes natural. And that's why the Black Swan Group, you have honed your craft, and you're part of a circle of people that have been able to teach principles and procedures to get people to the next level in their life if they apply them.
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
some things in that organization's meetings that you're trying to find from these business owners that will lead them to a path of excellence.
Yeah, and I love the way that you put it like that, because you should strive for excellence, not perfection. And a lot of people mix those two things up.
Yes.
Or if they say, well, perfection is a fool's errand, then they stop striving for excellence. I mean, excellence makes mistakes. Excellence does things bad, but excellence is an ongoing learning, because then it becomes just a lot of fun. So you're curious about what's coming at you. You want to understand how things tick. I think the big advantage of thinking of yourself as an average dude, average, schmuck, average Joe, is you can learn from everybody. Like, there isn't anybody out there that you can't learn from. Like, I learned from Jordan Belfort. I learned from a Pittsburgh drug dealer. I learned at the suicide hotline. Like, there isn't anybody that I'm afraid to learn from, even if and I'm not saying that any of the people that I've cited are negatively are despicable in any way, but heck, I mean, I could learn from anybody if they're effective. I want to know how they're effective. Do I adopt their morals? No. But do I want to learn how the mechanisms that make a life better? I'm way into that. And I'm way into helping other people put their kids in a better house, put their kids in a better school. Prosperity goes all the way around. Yeah, I want to get in their pocket, but as a reward for having given them something that's far more valuable than what they gave me monetarily. It is an abundant world if you take that attitude, and you can help a lot of people have better lives.
And you are helping people with better lives. There is no question. There are so many people that would say, I read that book and it truly helped me be a better person. And I can tell you, I feel that way. I can't
Thanks.
say that a lot about things that I do, but it's made me a better person, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. I really do. From the bottom of my heart, there's times when I need to suck it up and go, listen, I read this and it was amazing. And I'm telling others. So, it helps everybody, right?
Well, and the key there is you care about being a better person. Like, some people don't. Like, they're so resentful. You don't have to be sociopathic to not care about being a better person. You just be caught up in resentment and think that the world is scarce, and
Right.
it is not.
Right.
But when you care about being a better person, the life gets better.
Yeah.
And you're happier.
100%. 100%. Well, we want to kind of wrap things up, but I wanted to let people know that obviously the movie Tactical Empathy is going to be coming out, and we're going to put it to the masses so everybody can see it. But we're doing some private showings that I think you and I talked about, and the team, we've been talking with them. We've got to come up with some dates. And I want people to know that we're going to put it together so that they can come and have potentially a question and answer after we show it. And we'll probably do that here in DFW, and we might do it in some other cities, because I pretty much hammered this out. I think we just need to get some dates, and we'll talk more about that. But are you ready to literally open up for the ability for Kevin and his craziness to help you grow the Black Swan Group? That's the real
Amen.
question,
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say,
Yeah, I want to collaborate for all the stuff we've been talking about. You take phone calls from your mom, for God's sake.
listen, I try to take every call, but unfortunately there's a lot of scammers out there, and they just waste our time. But at the end of the day, you got to take your mom's call, right?
Yeah. You know what? And I'll throw a quick story at you along those lines, because I started collaborating with some people over at WME, the talent agency out of Los Angeles. It's pioneered, run, guided by Ari Emanuel. And one of the guys that I was talking to, we were sitting down talking, and he was telling me why he loves working for Ari Emanuel and Amir. And Amir said that there was a rule, if you were on Ari's team, as to when to return phone calls, when to take them or return. He said the first priority is family. And he's like, I want to work for a guy whose first priority is family. And that's cool.
Yep. No, I'm all about family. I'm all about, obviously, friends and family. And, you got to have priorities in life. We only live once. And while we're here, we're trying to help people through that process. I love having the ability to help people. I love that you have taken the opportunity to be with me on the podcast today, the old Swypit Show. We're going to look to wrap things up. And, Chris has been an amazing person. The Black Swan Group, I'm so excited to be helping you folks in many different arenas, because obviously on my business side, we can help clean up some things there as well. But what's important
Okay.
for everybody to know is to get a chance, pick up the book, read it, enjoy it, read it again. You're gonna love it. And then when we get the movies, we can, the movie, it'll eventually be out. But what's important is for people to know that you're not actually by yourself in life, and you can learn from experts to help you get where you want to go. And I love Nick and his team and how they've affected my life, and it's given me the ability to do things I've never been able to do. And one of those is meeting Brandon through you, and you, of course. I say Brandon, but it's a family affair, and everything I do is about helping others. I love what I do. This is obviously the Swypit Show on the Success Network. Mr. Ryan, we appreciate all of your extra help here. Get the book, go to blackswangroupLTD.com. And
Black Swan Ltd. Group is not, it's very confusing. Group is not in the website. It's just Black Swan Ltd.
And I said that right in the first time.
You did.
But now, of course, I'm so glad you corrected me. And that's why you're on the show. We got to have experts around. This is your deal, right? And I'm goofing it up. But anyways, hey, Ryan, I appreciate you. We are ready to close out this show. Appreciate everybody that helps out with this stuff. It is the Swypit Show on the Success Network. Thank you so much. Until our